8,000 years. 8,000 years of winters. 8,000 years of watching. 8,000 years of waiting for something that most people stopped believing in centuries ago. And in one night, it falls. But here's what most people don't realize. The story of that wall, the story of why it was built, and the story of the family that spent 300 years preparing for the moment it would fall, that story doesn't start with Ned Stark losing his head. It doesn't even start with Aegon the Conqueror. It starts 12,000 years ago, and every single thing that happens in Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and now A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, it's all connected. This is the complete history of Westeros, and by the end of this, you're going to understand how a dagger forged before the Doom of Valyria ended up killing the Night King in Winterfell, and why that's not a coincidence. You've watched Game of Thrones. Maybe you've watched House of the Dragon. And now, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is here, set in an era the shows have never explored before. But here's the thing. Most people treat these as separate stories. Prequel here, a sequel there. What they don't realize is that George R.R. Martin built one continuous narrative spanning 12,000 years of history. And when you see the threads that connect all of it, it completely changes how you understand these stories. So let's do this properly. Not just a list of dates. That's boring. Instead, I want to show you the three threads that weave through all of Westerosi history. The first thread is prophecy. Specifically, one dream that shaped 3 centuries of Targaryen rule. The second thread is dragons and why their extinction nearly doomed the world. The third thread is bastards and how the legitimization of one king's illegitimate children caused nearly 70 years of war, 5 generations of bloodshed, and accidentally saved humanity. Let's start at the beginning. 12,000 years before Robert Baratheon sat on the Iron Throne, Westeros didn't belong to humans at all. The continent was home to 2 races: the children of the forest, small, mysterious beings who worshipped the old gods and carved faces into weirwood trees, and giants, who mostly kept themselves in the far north. Then the first men arrived. They crossed from Essos using a land bridge called the Arm of Dorne, and they brought bronze weapons, horses, and absolutely no respect for the sacred weirwood groves. They started cutting down the trees. The children didn't take that kindly. What followed was centuries of war. The children were smaller and fewer, but they had magic. In desperation, their green seers gathered and performed a ritual so powerful it shattered the Arm of Thorn itself, breaking the land bridge into what we now call the Stepstones. But it wasn't enough. The first men were already here, and they weren't leaving. Around 10,000 before the conquest, both sides finally exhausted themselves. On the Isle of Faces, that small island in the center of the God's Eye Lake, the wise men of the first men and the green seers of the children forged a peace agreement called the Pact. The terms were simple. First men got the open lands, the coasts, the mountains. The children kept the deep forests, and crucially the first men agreed to stop cutting down weirwoods and adopted the worship of the old gods. This began the Age of Heroes.